Well, I've just watched the first episode of the much anticipated Chucky TV series, which many other Chucky fans have been waiting a long time for because, obviously, if you remember, spoiler alert for, a 4-year-old film at this point, but in Cult of Chucky ended on a massive, cliffhanger. And yeah, this series is basically a direct sort of follow up from that. So, just gonna note that I will be having to go into spoilers talking about these just because otherwise, I won't be able to talk about or go into it. So, the first thing that I'm gonna just go through the notes I've got. So, the first thing I noticed immediately when watching it is that for some reason there's a lot of obvious exposition put at the start to explain just a few things. It's like, oh yeah, this is, which basically tells you, yeah, this is the town Charles Lee Ray was born and grew up in, and that's all you basically need to know from that exposition. So this series follows our main character Jake, who is 14. Yeah. Now, initially, when I saw all the trailers, I thought Jake and all the other characters, were in high school, but no, they're in middle school and they're meant to be, like 14-year-olds. It's like, here's another problem. Just like they don't look 14. Most of them, you know, they can. Most of them look a lot older than that because, well, they probably are. If they aren't, then I do apologise for that. But yeah, 14, kind of ish get away, but you look at least 16 years old or possibly 18, so, but okay. So yeah, Jake buys Chucky from a yard sale for $10, and the reason that he buys Chucky is because he is buying and collecting dolls to make a sculpture out of dolls. So yeah, I think this is the first sign showing that Jake has a few screw looses, up there because that is literally the first thing. In fact, the first thing he does upon buying Chucky and bringing him home is he does try to pull Chucky's head off. So yeah, obviously feeling in that, but yeah, because Jake wants to be an art student. So okay, clearly he wants to be one of them modern art students that basically the shit kind of art, just like that. Yeah, he wants to be one of them. Also, at the start of this episode, on a couple of occasions, I noticed there's a few weird songs in the soundtrack for some reason. Now the actual background music in the soundtrack that's pretty much fine, but there are a few occasions where there's actual songs, there's lyrics to the music in the soundtrack, which I just find to be really weird and doesn't really fit, especially with this Chucky series. Because I don't know, in some occasions it just comes out of nowhere and just feels particularly odd in places. I really don't know. Yeah, like just seem a bit random, but yeah, we get a couple of scenes early on showing that Jake's dad is not very supportive of his son, basically, going to art school and that. And the reason he gives is because it costs $1,000. And later on, there's a dinner scene with Jake, whose mum died in, I think, a car crash or something. And he's there with his uncle, his cousin, who is a complete dick to him. And basically, his cousin keeps taking the piss in the fact that Jake is gay. And you'll hear this a lot because it's one of those things that is constantly mentioned throughout. Like, yeah. And it's also it's also stated that Jake once had a load of friends but then stopped having friends because, he became weird. And okay, that's fine, but it feels like they're half suggesting the reason why is because he's gay. It does feel like that at times. I'm hoping that isn't the case. I'm hoping that it is just because, he became really weird. Because, a 14-year-old making a life-size, art sculpture out of, bits of dolls' heads and arms and that, yeah, that is pretty fucking weird. But, yeah, his father at one point even threatens, to kill him just because of him being a homosexual. Like, he doesn't want his son, in his words, being a puff. And it's just like, I don't know how things are in, America, but, it does seem like this is, something that, it's written and directed by John Mancini. It's kind of like written as if it was still the bloody 1980s. Heck, even the bloody even by the 1980s, late 80s, that would have been a bit okay. But yeah, just the way the dad goes on, he's written like a Stephen King, like, bully character. He is literally, Jake's father is written like a Stephen King bully character. He's basically that. He doesn't last too long, in this, spoiler alert, but yeah, he is killed at the end of the episode. But yeah, it's just really fucking weird. So the one doll, obviously, to survive this carnage, because Jake's dad decides to destroy this statue after that because he doesn't want his son getting into arcs and blah blah blah. But Chucky, obviously, is spared from this, and for some reason, after looking this Chucky doll up online, Jake finds that, hey, he's worth a lot of money. So he decides that, you know what, he's going to sell Chucky. And for some reason, he brings Chucky to school. And I don't know why. I really don't know why. Like, if you're going to sell him, then why are you bringing him to school where he could possibly get damaged? Like, I can only assume that maybe it's so his father doesn't find it. Maybe. But then again, you could just hide it in your room, but whatever. Okay, you're going to bring it to school, but, he's holding it round in his arm the whole time, and he even tries shoving it in his locker. Because, like, you don't want this thing to get damaged, so don't shove it in the locker so much. And then we're introduced to Jake's cousin's girlfriend, who is a bit of a bizarre character because a lot of people seem to call her bitch for some reason. I really don't know why, because she doesn't really, at least from what we get in this episode, she doesn't really act like one. I mean, when Jake tells her that he's going to be selling Chucky, she thinks immediately that, he needs funds and benefits, so she sets up a GoFundMe page for him. I'm not even joking. It's like, and this gives her detention for some reason. Also, the teacher is fine with, Jake bringing Chucky not only into class, but having him sit on a chair next to him in class. And even agreeing, to just put him in a teacher's, cupboard in the class. I mean, that's a lot more mellow teachers than what I had. And also, Chucky decides to dissect a frog when no one's looking. How the fuck no one saw this? Because, he manages to do it in, like, the blink of an eye. But okay, fair enough. I would like to talk about the look of Chucky in this one. So Chucky, finally in this one, they've actually managed to make him look, like the original 1988 Chucky doll that was used for the original Child's Play. They finally made him, look like that. At least in his, like, Barbie doll mode, or his regular doll form where he isn't moving and he's just going, like pure doll. Like, finally they have got him right, because in the previous couple of films he's looked a bit weird. Like, particularly, I'd say in Curse of Chucky, he looked particularly odd in that one. He had a really big forehead for some reason. And then in Cult of Chucky looks slightly better, but he did have wiggly, spaced out eyes and like just looks slightly off. But this one looks a lot better. Although when we do see him actually move, it doesn't look great. I mean, we do barely see him move like properly at all in this episode. When we get a couple of scenes where we briefly get that, but yeah, it's clearly just like, yeah, this is, what happens when it's made for TV. I mean, he's still a practical effect, which is good for the, he's mainly a practical effect. There are a couple of bits where you can see that they've added a bit of CGI to it to try and make it work, but it does look a bit odd as a result. There are a couple of bits where I do see it working quite well. For example, there's a scene where Chucky, stands up and yeah, it looks very natural. It looks pretty good. So there's some instincts to that. But when he's talking, the face, it just doesn't have the same sort of motion or natural fluidness that he had in, obviously, his direct-to-video films, and especially the ones that were released in cinemas back in the day. So, yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, we get a brief glimpse of this, so we'll see what it looks like as we go on in it. So, yeah. But in terms of, the look of Chucky, I think he looks an awful lot better as a result of this. And also, they don't try and hide his movement as much from the audience, because by this point, it's like, all audiences who are watching this, like, they know the deal. They know the deal, so they don't have to really hide Chucky's movements and that so much in this one. They don't, purposely try and hide it as much. Yeah. Is anything else I want to put? Oh, yeah. So, Jake tries to sell Chucky, weirdly by he doesn't put him on eBay. He decides to put him on unknown website where, you can contact him. And this guy out of the blue says, "Hey, can we talk? Give me your phone number." And Jake, being a 14-year-old, knows nothing about it, doesn't raise any eyebrows at this, and just gives this guy who randomly messages him, to give him his phone number to talk about buying Chucky. Even though alarm bells should be ringing in his head, because, he could talk to him on the instant chat on there, except it would be basically anonymous and wouldn't be able to track him, but okay. And we get a call, and I think it's Andy on the other end. I don't know, I'm not quite sure by the voice, but I think by the sounds of it, it sounds like Andy is calling him, and basically he warns him about Chucky. And by this point, Chucky hasn't really done anything yet, so, Jake is kind of just like, I don't know. But he does, assuming it's Andy on the phone, does mention check to see if his batteries are in. And that's when Jake, looks up Chucky, and we see the, the newsprint of Andy, age 6, saying, "Chucky did it." And the next day, it's found that, hey, Chucky snuck back home, just like he did in Child's Play 2. He managed to break out of the school. And, yeah. And this is when Jake finds that, oh, Chucky has no batteries and he's talking. I mean, I was kind of half expecting them to do the subversion where Chucky decided to put batteries in himself just to try and trick, Jake for a bit longer, but nah. And Jake just immediately, just throws him out. Okay, I mean, could go a little bit more extreme, you could, try and destroy him or something, but yeah, just chuck him out. Just chuck him out in the bins. There you go. Job done. But yeah, some reason the school talent contest thing later. Chucky, for some reason, shows up there, and for some reason is talking, and is seen talking in front of everyone, in front of an audience. He is talking in an audience of people, Yet no one sees him talking. No one sees him talking, and then a spotlight is driven upon him, and he basically tells Jake to go up on stage, and Jake, goes up on stage with Chucky, and Chucky basically says whatever the fuck he wants, and basically insults everyone, and obviously everyone is thinking it's Jake, and he's being ventriloquist. But I just like, how the fuck did no one see Chucky talking beforehand? Like, did no one just say, "Oh, who's talking?" It's like, oh, it must be. I don't know. There's a few instances in the episode just like where clearly someone should see, Chucky talking or moving or something and just go, "What?" But okay. And then the same night, Chucky decides to kill Jake's dad. And what he does is he drinks his liquor or whatever the fuck alcoholic drink he's drinking and vomits on him. Yeah, and he gets electrocuted. And the reason Chucky vomited on him to make it look like it was, Jake's dad was just drunk. And just did that, I guess. It was really odd seeing Chucky vomit. Okay, I initially thought he just, had a swig of the liquor just because, shits and giggles, but no, it was to vomit on him. Okay. And then Chucky and Jake are then sent to live with his uncle and his dickhead of a cousin. And this is when Chucky finally properly reveals himself to Jake and starts talking to him. And pulls out a knife and, antics ensue in the next episodes. Overall, though, what do I think of this? Well, this is, to be honest, I kind of knew I was sort of getting into because this is, again, written and directed by Don Mancini, who has written every single, Chucky-related film, apart from the 2018 remake, and has directed Seed of Chucky onwards. So, yeah, this film, though, does look really good. It does look really nice, and it is pretty well directed. You also get a little kind of flashback scene at the beginning and at the end of Chucky as a little kid, which are like, okay. And for some reason, it's done in the same like they tease you with it at the start, kind of like it looks kind of like at the start of Halloween. At the start, and then it's like revealed because like, oh no, it's just Chucky as a kid hugging his mother. Okay. But overall, I did enjoy this, despite the obvious flaws in it. I did still really enjoy this. And this episode, obviously, it had to set up a lot, and basically with this one, at least with this episode, you don't, have to know everything that happened in the previous films. Basically, all you need to really know is that, Chucky is possessed by the soul of a serial killer, and basically you just need to know, like, that's who Chucky is, just like, essentially for this, so far. Although, obviously, probably as the series goes on, we're probably going to get more and more because obviously, we know Jennifer Tilly is going to show up at some point. Who knows? Maybe even Glenn or Glenda might show up in this. Who knows? What's going to happen in this? Maybe that'll show up as a cameo. And we do know, I think there's meant to be Chucky films coming after this as well. At least according to Don Mancini, he plans to do at least 2 more films after this. But yeah, overall, it was still really enjoyable. And it's it's basically, if you've enjoyed, I would say I probably was enjoying this a little bit more than Curse, because Curse of Chucky felt like the most budgeted one out of all of them. It felt like it took place in 4 rooms, and that was it. I mean, it worked in Cult. It worked in Curse because that was obviously a house, a big, massive house, and so it kind of worked in there. But in the Asylum, just like with Cult, yeah, I still enjoyed Cult although as a matter of fact, but I didn't really have a lot going on. This one feels like it's got a lot more going on. It's got a lot more plot threads that it's gonna be going. Brad Dourif is great as Chucky as ever. Also, the person who does the good guy Chucky voice is a lot closer to the original voice. Yeah, in the past film in Cult, the voice was nothing like the original, but in this one, it is a lot closer into fooling you, just like it being the original. Who knows? It might be the original. I don't know. But yeah, it is a lot closer to the original voice. But yeah, that's overall all I've got to really, say off this off the top of my head for now. But we've all really enjoyed it, and yeah, I'd highly recommend it. By the way, that's it for this video, and I'll see you. Who knows? I might do every episode, or I might just do a season overview at the end. But yeah, there we go.